Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. There is nothing worse than ants in your house. You put something on your kitchen counter, and there's that little line of ants marching straight in. No, wait. There's nothing worse than bed bugs. They can ruin your home, your clothes. No, wait. You know what's worse? Actually, they all suck. I hate bugs. I can't stand any bugs. And the beauty is Southeast Termite and Pest Control can get rid of all of them. Ants, mosquitoes, carpenter bees, bed bugs, you name it, they can get rid of it. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, they take care of my house. They can do the same for you. They've been doing it for more than 50 years. SoutheastTermite.com to learn more. All right, we talked offense in the last segment. Ryan, let's start with talking defense here. What was your number one takeaway on the defensive side of the ball in week one?
Yeah, I'm always drawn to what's different from what we saw in the spring, and what's different is there's a couple more seniors out there who weren't really there during the spring, and so you now got really 5 seniors that have some experience, some level of claim to a job there that think they can play, and then you've got those talented freshmen still behind them, so there's a lot of depth at cornerback. That caught my attention, and a newcomer that we talked about a lot in the spring, so this isn't new, but Arion Carter is – I mean, I don't want to raise the bar too high for him, but he looks really good, and I think he's a guy who's going to play a lot of football for this team. So those are kind of my top 2 takeaways. But overall, just a lot of depth, a lot of good-looking athletes. We'll kind of see what they look like when they put on pads for the first time in a couple days, but it's a good-looking defense with a lot more depth, and to our point earlier, that could result in some better performance on defense.
Yeah, at linebacker, Carter is a big part of why they're deeper, more talented. I would also look at the starters right now of Aaron Beasley, who now has played good football for Tennessee at linebacker, and then Keenan Peely coming in.
Transfer from BYU.
Yeah, he's a 25-year-old married college football player. So the leadership that they're going to have at that position is different from a year ago. Jeremy Banks was a good player for Tennessee, but he was not the most reliable, accountable player on the team. Peely probably will be the most reliable player on the team. So I think they have a better trust at that position, which then leads to more depth when you have more talent come in, plus Elijah Herring and Perry and T-Lander. So that's a legitimate group now, I think, for Tennessee.
Yeah, linebackers is a good one where I was thinking about going, but I'll go somewhere different, and I will say the defensive line. Omar Norman Lott's a name that comes up as much as anybody on that side of the ball when you talk to players, and he doesn't get yelled at maybe quite as much as some other guys with Ronnie Garner, and everybody pretty much gets some of that. But I think he's a guy that has impressed his teammates quite a bit. And then a couple of players said, I think we could go 3 deep on the D-line. Maybe 9 or 10 in rotation last year. If we can go 12 deep this year, maybe that could have some guys be fresher towards the end of the year. And so I think that D-line, even Keenan Peely and Beasley as well, really praising the D-line and the work that they're doing and how freak athletic some of those guys are. We haven't maybe seen the game-changing play from some of those guys, but maybe you'll see that take another level up this year. They're going to be coached well, that's for sure. They always are.
That is one of my questions. On the edge, they have a number of really good athletes. They have young guys that have a ton of talent, promise. That Joshua Joseph showed some of that last year as a true freshman. Pierce is a second-year guy, plus some freshmen that have come in. But who emerges? Byron Young was their best guy clearly last year. Now he's with the Rams. So Tyler Barron, this is a big year for him coming back. And then those young players who need to emerge. So the players are there, the talent's there, is the playmaking. That's the next step.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have a feel yet for, it's 1 week in fall camp, that phraseology of that question is a little silly, but with that in mind, do you have a gut feeling that this guy may be that pass rusher, or this guy may be the guy that takes the step at cornerback? Because you're looking for the pass rush, you're looking for another corner to step up. You're talking about more depth, more talent, but do you see anybody that's got a foot in front of the other guys at this point, or is it just a big mix of guys?
I think it's too early. I just think, especially since you haven't put on pads yet. Yep. The first scrimmage is Thursday, so we'll get a better feel for that the next few days, I think. But one thing I did notice, and maybe the only depth chart note besides Gerald Mincy working at left tackle that really caught my eye on the first day, Jalen McCullough not working with the starters in the very first snap they took. Andre Turrentine was there at safety alongside Wesley Walker. May not mean much. They mixed in a lot of guys, rotated some different groups, but are they preparing for a possible legal issue there?
Yeah.
Is it just, are they opening that door for competition more? It was an interesting note on the first day, I thought.
Because he's your veteran guy. The fact that he isn't there, that's a good point, and that probably does tie back to the off-field issue.
It could.
You would think.
And Ryan, to your point about corners, it was Brandon Turnage
Yeah.
that was first team opposite Danico Slaughter. And I think if there's a corner that has separated, it's Danico Slaughter.
Yep.
I mean, you look at him when we talked to him media days and we're close to him. I mean, he has filled out so much. He was so rail thin. You see him go through his drills, a change of direction. They do some stuff that they do at the combine where you have to spin your hips and get upfield. I mean, he looks so smooth and confident, and he feels like they're on a different level in terms of belief in what they're doing defensively and just overall confidence. So he would separate, but I think the pass rush is still TBD. And Josh Heupel said it. I asked him about it. He said that this is the time in fall camp where you have to show what you can do and separate and seize that position. I don't think pre-pads, full pads, we haven't seen that yet.
Anything to close out with? Oh, did you have
Well,
something? Go ahead.
one positive note, Joshua Joseph, we talked with him this week. He said he's up to 235 pounds. One concern about him was he hadn't put on enough weight since he got on campus. So that's a good note. He was playing in the 220s last year, I think. So definitely a positive step for him as he kind of looks to step forward over James Pierce. I think he might have the slight edge on Pierce early on, but it's very early still, and both those guys are really talented.
And I think Roman Harrison is your Leo right now. Until one of those young guys, Pierce or Josephs, takes it, they're going to go with the reliable Roman Harrison right now.
All right, I think we've covered every name on the defensive side of the ball, which is great. I
there
give
are
you a
lot of-
challenge. All right,
Yeah,
what do you got?
maybe quote of the week, and you're looking for talk of this team right now, but Shandavian Bradley, one of the higher-rated players in this class, one of the best coaches of the week, saying he likes to be coached by Ronnie Gardner. Ronnie Gardner told him as soon as he signed, recruiting's over. He didn't lie, and he likes being yelled at. So he said he told Ronnie Gardner, thanks for coaching me up. So that is a good sign for a guy that has talent but needs to improve, that he's telling Rodney Gardner, keep yelling at me. Because he will.
And you can keep voting at us because there's a bunch of you online doing it right now. I am rather shocked. We were talking in between breaks here. Butch Jones is almost in last place in this competition, and I would have thought he would have been in first place with all of the Twitter venom that is thrown at him. It's constant. You get people that tweet about Butch Jones all the time still. So it's remarkable to me that this poll is shaping up the way it is. So if you're a Butch Jones hater, get in now and even up those scores. All right, when we come back, how do you look at Tennessee this fall? A couple of national media guys have very different views. We'll discuss those next. Come on back on the Sports Source.